The mansion was quiet, its marble floors gleaming under the soft glow of crystal chandeliers, the kind of silence that spoke of wealth, comfort, and a life untouched by struggle. Yet in the dim, unused corner of the sprawling kitchen, a small, shivering figure huddled on the cold tiles, trying to make herself invisible. Emma, the family's maid, had spent months silently working in the shadows of this world she could never belong to, her hands tirelessly cleaning, cooking, and serving. Today, however, she was not working. Today, she was hungry. Not just a little hungry, but the kind of hunger that gnawed at her bones, the kind that had followed her from the tiny, crumbling apartment she once called home, the kind she thought she had buried under years of endurance. She pulled a piece of leftover bread from the counter and wrapped it carefully in a napkin, trying to eat quietly, aware that even the slightest sound could betray her to the master of the house. Little did she know that her silence would be broken not by her own mistakes, but by the footsteps of someone she had never expected. Alexander Whitmore, a billionaire known for his austere demeanor and uncompromising standards, had returned home earlier than usual. His life was a cascade of business meetings, press appearances, and high-profile charity events, leaving little room for personal reflection, let alone the quiet tragedies of those around him. But that evening, for reasons even he could not explain, he had felt drawn to the kitchen. It was a late autumn night, the sky was painted with shades of indigo and burnt orange, and the mansion itself seemed to hum with a kind of eerie stillness. As Alexander stepped into the kitchen, he froze, his sharp eyes catching sight of Emma's trembling figure. The scene that met him was heartbreaking. Here was a grown woman, barely in her 30s, crouched like a child, stealing morsels from a plate that should have been her nourishment for the day. Her clothes were neat but worn, her hair loosely tied, and her eyes wide with fear, almost like she expected to be scolded or fired for the smallest infraction. Alexander's first instinct was disbelief, then anger, but it was quickly replaced by a wave of something he hadn't felt in years, compassion. He saw not a thief, but a human being, fighting a battle he had never imagined. At that moment, I ask you, dear viewers, if you believe in kindness and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs a reminder of humanity, and subscribe to the channel. Let's spread compassion together. Alexander cleared his throat, not wanting to startle her further. Emma flinched, her hands clutching the small bundle of bread, tears welling in her eyes. She wanted to explain, to justify herself, but the words stuck in her throat. Her life had been a series of compromises, silent humiliations, and desperate choices. She had left her family behind, burdened with debts, to take this job she had thought would be a step toward stability. Instead, it had become a stark reminder of her own vulnerability. Alexander watched her, a storm of emotions playing across his face. The house was immaculate, the pantry full, the chef employed, but here she was, driven by a hunger deeper than mere appetite. He stepped closer, crouching slightly so he would not appear threatening. Emma braced herself, expecting the worst, but he simply said, "You don't have to hide." It was not a reprimand. It was not a judgment. It was an offer of acknowledgement, the kind that rarely came in a world where wealth often drowned out the struggles of those who served it. Emma's knees weakened, and she sank further to the floor, sobbing quietly. Alexander's heart tightened. He had always considered himself a man of success, yet in that moment, he realized that true success was not measured by possessions or accolades, but by the ability to see and honor the humanity in others. Over the next few days, Alexander observed Emma from a distance. He noticed the exhaustion etched on her face, the quiet dignity with which she carried out her duties, and the careful way she avoided any unnecessary attention. She had not asked for help, she had endured in silence, masking the weight of her struggles with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. He began to leave notes of encouragement, small gestures of care, a warm cup of tea waiting for her during breaks, a new pair of shoes when she complained of blisters, a handwritten note thanking her for her dedication. But the true turning point came one rainy afternoon. Alexander had returned from a charity gala, his mind buzzing with the superficial glamour of the event, when he found Emma sitting on the back steps of the mansion, soaking wet, holding a worn photograph in her hand. It was a picture of a young boy, no older than 7, with a gap-toothed smile and eyes full of mischief, her son, whom she had left behind years ago in the hope of creating a better future for him. She whispered his name as if speaking it aloud could bridge the chasm of time and distance. Her life had been a series of sacrifices, the hardest being the one she carried in her heart every single day. Alexander sat beside her in silence, offering nothing but the warmth of his presence. He did not need her story fully explained to understand its gravity. He saw the fatigue, the longing, the invisible chains of responsibility and love that weighed her down. That night, he made a decision that would change both of their lives. He offered her a path forward, not charity, not pity, but opportunity. He wanted to help her reconnect with her son, to provide the stability and security she had been denied. The next weeks were filled with both joy and heartbreak. Alexander helped Emma track down her son, who had grown into a bright, resilient young boy despite the hardships. Their reunion was nothing short of cinematic. The park where they met was bathed in golden sunlight, the boy running toward her with arms outstretched, laughter spilling into the air like music long forgotten. Emma collapsed into his embrace, tears streaming freely, and for the first time in years, she felt a sense of wholeness she had feared she would never experience. Alexander watched from a distance, his own eyes misted with the weight of what he had witnessed, a mother's love, unbroken by distance, poverty, or despair. Yet the journey was not without its challenges. Emma struggled with guilt, with feelings of inadequacy, and with the haunting memories of the years she had lost. Alexander continued to support her, not as a boss or a savior, but as a human being who recognized the transformative power of empathy. Slowly, Emma began to heal. She found strength in her vulnerability and courage in the love that surrounded her. The mansion, once a symbol of separation, became a place of reconnection and growth, a sanctuary where the lines between social status and humanity blurred. In time, Emma started her own small initiatives, helping other women who had faced similar struggles, those whose lives were overshadowed by poverty, fear, and societal neglect. Alexander became a quiet supporter, offering resources and encouragement, but always letting Emma take the lead. She flourished, not because she was given everything, but because she was given the chance to reclaim her dignity, to be seen, and to rebuild her life on her own terms. One evening, as the autumn leaves swirled outside the mansion's windows, Emma stood at the doorway of the kitchen, the same place where Alexander had first found her. She looked around, memories flooding back. The cold tiles, the trembling hands, the hunger that had once defined her. She smiled, a smile that carried both the weight of the past and the lightness of newfound hope. Alexander joined her, not with words, but with the understanding that some connections transcend explanations. Together, they watched her son play in the garden, a living testament to resilience, compassion, and the miracles that can unfold when kindness meets opportunity. Dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, please show your love by liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs hope, and commenting your feelings below. Let's celebrate the power of human kindness together. Before the end, I would love for you to leave a comment sharing the one act of compassion you've experienced or witnessed that changed your life. Your stories can inspire others as much as Emma's did. The story of Emma and Alexander is a reminder that life is not just about wealth or success, it is about seeing people, understanding their struggles, and offering support without judgment. It is about the courage to step into someone else's world, to lift them when they are down, and to believe in second chances even when hope seems distant. Sometimes, it takes a single moment of empathy to change the trajectory of someone's life. Sometimes, it takes courage to see beyond appearances and embrace the quiet suffering of those around us. Emma's story, once defined by hunger and invisibility, became one of reunion, growth, and the unbreakable bond of human connection. And in that transformation, Alexander found something that money could never buy, a profound sense of purpose and the knowledge that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in the hearts we touch. As the sun set behind the mansion, casting warm amber light across the garden, Emma and her son sat together, laughter mingling with the soft rustling of leaves. Alexander stood nearby, content in the quiet knowledge that a single act of recognition, seeing Emma when she thought no one would, had blossomed into a life filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. And that, dear viewers, is the kind of story that reminds us all why kindness matters, why second chances are worth giving, and why even in the darkest moments, a glimmer of light can lead to a lifetime of happiness.